We have CEO Bradford Cooke on Skype with us today from Endeavour Silver. Bradford, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks.
Great. So we wanted to talk about how you're targeting a 20% increase in production for this year for all three of your mines. Give us your thoughts on that and what exactly you're targeting.
In general terms, the silver and gold business went through a great bull market, peaking in 2011, followed by a 5-year bear market, bottoming in December of 2015. So we're back into the uptick in terms of the precious metals, and that drives our corporate strategy. We had 10 consecutive years of aggressive production growth here at Endeavour Silver, followed by 5 years of hitting the brakes and keeping the ounces in the ground. But now it's time to grow again. So that's what drives our 20% production growth forecast this year. We actually finished last year with a bang. We had 3 consecutive quarters of rising production, and that's the basis for our 20% growth this year.
So moving towards your mine in Guanaceví, can you talk about, I know you had some operating issues in the past. If you want to tell me how you kind of ironed out the kinks since then.
Yeah, about 15 months ago, the highest grade, deepest ore producing area at the Guanaceví mine broke into a boiling hot spring. And we've been ventilating heat and pumping water for years at Guanaceví, but not that much. So we actually had to abandon that area and allow it to flood, which obviously really impacted our first and second quarter production and costs last year. So it was a real drag on our performance last year, but we did roll up our sleeves and asked the operating group to modernize and expand both the pumping and ventilation systems. And they did that, big check mark. We reopened that area, high-grade area, in June last year, only to have lightning strike our electrical substation in the first week of July, which knocked the pumps out and allowed the area to flood again. So Mother Nature was not kind to us last year. We got through all of that by the end of July, and now we're into a multi-quarter bounce back at Guanaceví. That's part of the reason why our performance last year improved quarter on quarter. We did ask the other 2 mines, Bolañitos and El Kubo, to help make up for the shortfall at Guanaceví, and that's the other reason why all 3 mines are now doing much better this year.
Okay, you did mention Bolañitos. You had some improvement in metal recoveries there. Can you talk about that?
We did some testing at both Bolañitos and El Kubo and found that there was some simple changes that could be made for a low amount of capital investment to improve the recoveries. At Bolañitos, we're modeling 3 to 5%, and at El Kubo 2 to 4%. So I think early days yet, but most of those changes have been made, and we should start seeing the results in the second quarter.
Good to hear. Now, El Compas, you're supposed to be having initial production at the end of March. What has to happen from now until the end of March?
Well, let's give some context. So we have these 3 operating mines, high-grade underground silver gold mines in Mexico. That's the basis for our production forecast this year. But we do have a development pipeline, and mine number 4, El Compas in Zacatecas. We made a production decision in August, and because the mine came to us largely permitted, and the plant is an existing plant owned by the state government, and it was actually sitting dormant, we took a 10-year lease on an existing plant. So it's a very quick 9-month ramp up for in the order of $10 to $12 million to put our 4th mine into production. We have forecasted initial production by the end of March, and we're on time, on budget. We do expect, though, that it'll take another quarter or so to achieve commercial production at El Compas by the end of July.
And do you have any offtake agreements for that?
Well, we certainly have a concentrate sales contract starting in the second half of the year. And just again, some context on El Compas, it's going to be initially our smallest mine at 1.2 million ounces of silver equivalent production per year, but very, very accretive to our cash flow. It's basically a shallow, high-grade, thick seam of gold, silver ore, and that's why we can access it so quickly and get up and running.
And I know you were looking to achieve some permits for Terran Era. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so the sweetheart in our pipeline, the jewel in our pipeline, is Terran Era. It's another famous historic district where all the mines shut down 100 years ago in the Mexican Revolution. There's no plants in that district, but our exploration team made a virgin discovery called Terran Era. It's in the Terran Era vein on the Terran Era property. The current total resource is north of 60 million ounces of silver equivalents and still climbing. We did publish a full pre-feasibility study in April of last year. We haven't yet taken a production decision because we're waiting for the final permits. We did get the mine and plant permits from the government in August of last year. We're waiting for 2 final permits, which are the dumps and tailings permits, hopefully in the second quarter of this year. Our plan is to receive the permits, make a production decision, put a $50 million debt facility in place that's well advanced, and break ground in the second quarter for production by the fourth quarter of 2019. At its peak, and for 10 years, Terran Era will produce over 5 million ounces of silver equivalents per year. So almost half of this year's run rate from one mine, and that will single-handedly grow our production by 50%. So Terran Era is obviously very important to our future, and I should point out that both Compass and Terran Era have costs in the lowest quartile of the cost curve for the entire sector. So building new mines not only grows our production, it shrinks our costs.
Okay, that's great to hear. Now, tell me, how is the team doing?
Well, of course, being back in growth mode means that everybody's pretty busy. And we did grow our development group last year. We're still adding to the development group. But the operations team is chugging along steady state, and our exploration group is the same as it has been for years. So we have a great group of people. They've been with us for years.
Okay, so it seems like you're pretty optimistic for the rest of the year.
Well, I am. I think obviously the company outlook is a lot brighter than it has been in recent years, and not just for 2018, but for 3 years going forward. And if you look at the metal prices, I mentioned at the outset that we're finished with the bear market and into the uptick on gold and silver. I think this is a multi-year market. We're coming into a bull market for the precious metals, effectively a bear market for the US dollar. And that also, I think, colors our outlook in a favorable way.
Okay. Always great to talk to you, Bradford. Thank you so much.
And again, thanks for the opportunity.